something like, "My name is Ivy. How are you? How are you? How are you? My name is Ivy."
Hi, I'm Lisa Davis. Welcome to the Autism Truth Podcast brought to you by AutiParent. Today we will be exploring how music transforms children with autism. Before we begin, have you had a chance to explore AutiParent.com yet? It's a platform designed to support autism parents in Malaysia and worldwide. Joining us now is Ivy Tan, a board certified music therapist, neurologic music therapist, and founder of Lifetunes Music Therapy, a Berklee College of Music graduate with extensive experience supporting neurodivergent individuals and mental health populations across Malaysia and Los Angeles. She is also the former president of the Malaysian Music Therapy Association. Ivy, welcome to the Autism Truth
Thank you,
Podcast.
Lisa. So good to be here.
It's great to have you here. So, when did you first understand the joy and power of music in
Wow, that's a
general?
really good question. I think I have always loved music as a young child. I started playing the piano since I was 5, so that has been a while.
Oh, wow.
And I have always loved music. And along the years, and I just learned that, oh, music is not just about performing. Music is not just about
Right.
enjoyment, entertainment, but there's a healing aspect of it. And that really got me interested in pursuing music therapy as my career.
And when did that link into the neurodivergent community and thinking about how music would benefit people on the spectrum? And I would think with other, ADHD, other people who are
Absolutely.
neurodivergent.
Actually, that's a really good question because I did not actually first started working with neurodivergent children. So I actually started my
Oh,
career
okay.
by working with pediatric palliative care clients. So yes, so
Oh,
I
wow.
started working in a hospital. That was back in when
Mhm.
I first got certified as a music therapist, and I was working in Los Angeles for about 3 years. So and I really loved the medical setting. I loved every bit of it. And then I moved back to Malaysia in 2020. And that was when I started to explore other populations that I could support, and especially the autistic children. And so, yeah, so that was when I actually really started, to see how I could support them, you know, in the Malaysian context, Malaysian community, and I haven't stopped since.
Oh, that's fantastic. So people might not even be sure what is music therapy exactly.
Yes. So, music therapy is actually a clinical and evidence based approach of therapy. So, we actually use musical interventions to address different goals in the therapeutic relationship. So, for example, in music therapy, we're able to address different goals such as emotions, right? Physical goals, cognitive goals, social skills, and so on. But it's also very important to note that this is all within the therapeutic relationship context, because I've come across a lot of people asking like, "Oh, Ivy, I listen to music. I love music. I love playing music, and I feel better after that. Is that music therapy?"
Right.
Um, is not. It's not music therapy. However, music therapy is called a music therapy session when the presence of a music therapist is there, because we are trained extensively, not only musically but also clinically, to provide assessment as well as the whole treatment planning, to know which kind of music
Right.
to help you to
Yes.
achieve your goals. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just thinking that. I talk a lot on the show about my daughter who's doing great. She's 21. She's on the spectrum, ADHD, anxiety. And oh my gosh, music was just so good for her. But again, it wasn't in a therapeutic setting. And her biggest issue was emotional
Wow.
regulation and getting very overstimulated. And I'm wondering, depending on the issue that the child has, or the teen has, or young adult even, what type of music do you choose? So if, let's say I brought my daughter in when she was little and like the wind blew on her face and she would cry and we couldn't go to the grocery store because it was just too much going on and she'd be up all night crying because she couldn't like get everything out of her mind and it was just a lot. What kind of music would you
Mm.
choose?
So I think the first question I would typically ask that individual or the parent or caregiver is that what kind of music does the child actually likes? What is their
Mm,
preferred
yes.
music? So in music therapy, there isn't one song fits all. Right, it is highly
Right.
personalized. It is based on their preferences and their strengths. What do they like? What do they don't like? So it is really important to understand their preferences. So let's say if the child actually really likes, I don't know, Let It Go, do it, the song Let It Go, or
Right.
even Baby Shark,
A lot
right?
of kids
You
do.
know, so that
Yeah.
would be the song that we go to, that we would probably use that
I
very
see.
song that they like or that genre that they really love, and to do some adaptations to it.
Mm,
So, for example, if you're saying that we are actually working on emotional regulation, right? So probably we
right.
would then, do it in a way where, it is fast tempo, it's fast paced, or, there's a lot of instruments,
Right.
we probably would do it in a very slower tempo, right, to meet
Right.
where they are and to bring them to that relaxation mode. So that
Yes.
is one example that we could work on. So another one would be, we
I see.
could probably, instead of singing the whole song with verbal, with spoken words, we could actually also just hum. So that would
Mm,
actually
okay.
decrease some stimulations and actually provide some relaxation purpose and also some validation, and just keeps them safe. And that sense of familiarity actually really helps to comfort them as well.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Now I'm wondering, does it work where it sort of cues your brain after a while where, oh, this song is going to help me ground, help me calm down, help me feel safe? Is that what's happening, or is there something else?
Um, it does. So I think what happens in the brain, when we have that, when we listen to this song that we really like, or we listen to the song that we are so familiar with, is that it gives us a sense of comfort. It gives us a sense of security, of
Mhm.
familiarity, right? Because whenever we
Right.
listen to the songs we like, it actually gives us a positive emotion, right? It does, it signals
Mhm.
some
Yes.
some sort of like, oh, I feel good, right? It feels really good,
Yeah.
or it feels really calming, or there's all these
Yeah.
positive emotions. So we really want that. We want to cue our brains to have all these positive emotions when we listen to a certain song. So
Yes.
that is also the reason why we also wanted to do that assessment with our clients, knowing what songs they like and what songs they don't like. So imagine if a child actually
Right.
have a meltdown, and we don't actually know the preference, and we would probably sing like a rock song. I don't know, just for example, and that
Mhm.
child has
Sure.
a terrible experience with a rock song, or maybe a trauma
Right.
associated with it. And that would actually not be a therapeutic moment for them. So it's really important to have
Mm.
that knowledge or that assessment, knowing their preferences and not. Yeah.
There was a cartoon called Little Bear, and it was very sweet and very mellow, and there was classical music playing, and that was a really good thing to help my daughter. Like, I wouldn't let her watch, like, the cartoons that I grew up on, like, that were violent and insane and, people running off or road runners running off cliffs, and, it was just crazy. And I noticed that that would help calm her a bit because the characters were, it's just lovely little family stories and friendship and that classical music. She used to call it Grampy music because her grandfather, she was close to, my father-in-law, would play classical music. So I think when you have those positive associations, now when you play the music, is there other therapy? Are you talking about it or are they just listening? Kind of take us through what a
Oh
session
yeah.
would be like.
So I think a lot of misconception about music therapy is just that the music
Yeah.
therapist would just sing to you and you just sit there for the whole session.
Yes.
And I've had a lot of people just
Right.
asking me like, "Wow, Ivy, you have the best job in the whole world. You just you just sing songs and you play the guitar and you get paid." And I'm like,
Yeah. That
well,
sounds great.
not really. That's not really how it works. So basically, like what
Right.
I said earlier, it's highly individualized, right? Every session would look very different. But for example, right, we would actually have different instruments in a session. So in order to accompany the music therapist, we would either have like instrument like a ukulele. I actually have one here.
Mhm.
So there's
Oh, love it.
yes.
Ooh, play it for us.
We could have a ukulele,
Oh my
or we
god.
could have like a guitar,
Mhm.
which I also have it here.
Oh,
Or you could
lovely.
also have like a keyboard to accompany you. Of course, there are different little instruments that you could also use in your sessions, like shakers,
Oh, maracas. I
egg
love those, yeah.
shakers, um,
I love that sound.
castanet,
I could listen to that forever.
um,
Ooh,
triangle,
I'd love to show and
yeah,
tell.
drums,
Oh,
yeah, just different kinds of
nice.
instruments in our session. So, but in order to start this whole therapeutic process, we actually would start with an assessment, right? So assessment would we would start by asking a lot of different questions to the caregiver or the parent to
Mhm.
understand their child's preferences, their needs, their strengths, and just really getting to know the child. And we would spend some time to just learning and interacting with the child. So a lot of times we would start with a hello song, right? To just to start to by introducing like, oh, it's music time. Hello song is a great way
Right.
to introduce the child that we are gonna do some music today, instead of just jumping in and the child would be like, where am I? What am I
Right.
gonna do? There are so many unknowns, but it
Yeah.
acts like a structure. It acts like a transitional cue as a song to let them know that, oh, we're gonna do music today. We're gonna sing hello, and that is why we sing hello song in the beginning of our session. So throughout the session, we could do
Oh,
different
nice.
songs. Like we could do also like a improvisation. So that's when we use
Mhm.
actually different instruments. The child could play any instruments that they like. So we would present them with different instruments like the shakers, maracas, drum, you name it, we have it. So that's the time where we would go back and forth to just engage them in a musical setting. So we to just engage them whether in the instrument play or in by singing, maybe with their familiar songs, the songs that they like, and from the songs that they like, we could also transition to something else that we could work on. So the possibility is really endless, and we really work on what their interests are and what their responses are, and then we could just move our way there.
Mm. I love that. So how often does a child come to you? Somebody who is it, I'm assuming it's like an ongoing thing. You don't just go once and you're like, woohoo, I'm done, but it's kind of ongoing to help them
Yeah.
reach their different goals.
Typically, I would recommend the child would come for music therapy session at once a week. So we would do a weekly session, but some child probably would be a bi-weekly. So it really depends
Mhm.
on the child's child's needs, and that would
Okay.
also be depending on different factors like where do they live, would be traveling time would be a
Right.
concern, and so on. So that would be determined in the assessment session.
Now, what kind of things have you seen in the children in terms of, I mentioned earlier, emotional regulation or difficulty with transitions or other issues that kids on the spectrum face?
Yeah, I think there are quite a few things that I have seen, while supporting autistic children. But I would say one of the few major things that I do see in my practice would be number one, um, vocalizations, communication, language, right?
Mm,
Number two would
great.
be social
Yeah.
skills. Um, Number
Oh,
three
nice.
would be emotional regulation, like we touched on earlier, as well as motor skills. Yeah, so we are able to work
Mm.
on fine motor skills as well with some of the instruments. We are able to support them with that as well.
Oh, that's great. Now, when I was thinking about music therapy, I thought you just played the music that was already recorded. I think it's pretty incredible that you're playing the music. Can you give us a little example, maybe play a little something on your
Oh, sure.
ukulele?
How about this? I'll
Is
give
there
you
a
an example
Sure.
of like how I can use a familiar song in a music therapy setting.
Mhm.
Would that be a good
Yes, that would be
example?
great.
All right.
Oh, yeah, absolutely,
So
yeah.
I could share like a case study um, with you. So I have this client that we are working on, his communication, and he is just a lovely, a highly musical kid, right? And he just loves music, and he thrives on, just being engaged in a musical setting, and just so recently we're working on like just helping him to say phrases like how are you, I'm fine, thank you, right?
Yeah.
And he loves the song the wheels on the bus. So I use the
Yeah.
song the wheels on the bus. So like probably a lot of people might know the song the wheels on the bus will go like the wheels on the bus go round and round, round and round, round and round. The wheels on the bus go round and round, all through the town. So that's how it goes, right? So, but in order to help him to work on these goals, to help him to say, how are you? I'm fine, thank you. So I adapted
Right.
the song, The Wheels on the Bus, to this version, and it sounds something
Mhm.
like this. Right? It goes something like, "My name is Ivy. How are you? How are you? How are you? My name is Ivy. How are you? I'm fine, thank you."
And you have a gorgeous voice. Oh my
Thank
gosh.
you. You're so kind. I'm actually having a little bit of scratchy throat, but
Oh, I'm sorry. You
thank
sound
you.
beautiful.
But yeah, so that is one example of how we could use something that they love, right? It's a song that they actually prefer, so a song that actually motivates them. It's not a song that that makes them feel like, oh, I need to do this. But it's like, oh, I get to do
Right.
this. That really changes
Yeah.
everything. And when they are actually having fun, right, learning becomes a natural thing, right? Because music is
Right.
something that they really enjoy and they are highly engaged in. And when we're using something that they love, something, the song that they love,
Right.
and incorporate with the things that they need to work on, learning becomes just magical.
Mhm. Oh, that is so nice. Now, is there something that parents, caregivers, other family members can do at home to continue with the music lesson? Perhaps maybe singing that song that you sang, or doing other things like
Absolutely.
that?
I think it doesn't have to be the wheels on the bus, right? Because not every child would like the wheels on the bus. So I think it goes back to the question where, what is the one song, or what are some of the songs that your child really likes, right? And using that very song to just bond with them, to just create that
Right.
safe space for them to engage with you, for them to just express themselves. I think a lot of times parents don't see the importance of, simply being engaged in the process of singing with them and just
Yes.
playing with them. And the importance of this interaction actually plays such an important role in their developmental journey. And with that space being
Yes.
created at home, we are able to just hit many more milestones and help to support them better at home. So, of course, just knowing what song that they like and just simply just singing with them, or even using different adaptations on how to engage with them. So you might have some instruments at home, or you might not have some instruments at home, and that's okay. So you might just use your body, right? Body percussion. You could
Yeah.
clap with them. You could do gestures. You could do high fives. You could even incorporate like the AAC into this song activity that you are doing with them. So you're not actually just enjoying engaging with your child, but you're actually intentionally creating a safe space for them to you know engage with you at the same time, and also working to support them. Yeah, so I think that is one thing that they absolutely can try at home. And
Hmm.
another suggestion that I actually can give is that using songs as a transitional cue for this.
Ah, I love that.
So it could be, we are living in a day and age where social media, YouTube, Spotify is so accessible, right? We can always just go on to
Mhm.
YouTube and find different songs that is actually suitable for whatever thing that we are supporting the child with. So, for example, maybe you're training your child with, say, I don't know, maybe potty training, or having a change in their lives, maybe going to school or having meal time. Find any suitable songs that actually is relatable to that incident that you are actually supporting them with, and use the song as a transitional cue for them to know, like,
Yeah,
oh, it's meal time, oh, it's time to go to the toilet, or oh, time to say
that's
hello. So this is not like a um, chore, but it's almost like an,
right.
oh, this is so enjoyable. I'm having fun, but I'm also actually learning that this is what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah, I think that makes so much sense. Now, speaking of parents, if you've ever struggled to remember every detail about your child's progress when speaking with a doctor, you'll love Audi Progress. Audi Progress lets you track your child's development daily or weekly through quick or detailed forms, and everything securely saved in one place. You can even upload short videos or voice clips to give better context. Each child has a unique profile ID, so reports can be instantly shared with doctors. No more relying on memory, just clear, continuous insights that help your child's care team stay informed and connected. I could have really used this. I urge you all to check it out, audiparent.com today. So tell us a little bit about your experiences at the Berklee College of Music, which is in my neck of the woods and is incredibly well known for the incredible work that they do. And you have to be a pretty darn good musician, I understand, to get in. So talk to us about that.
um, I I would say that has been really one of the greatest privilege and experience I have, really, and I'm incredibly blessed and honored to be able to learn from all of the amazing professors at Berkeley in my time. And I'm always grateful that, I'm not only being trained as a musician, but I'm also being trained as a clinician. So that whole journey, because I think one of the biggest takeaways in Berkeley is that it is so inspiring that every day you meet different people. They're not only talented, but they are just incredibly hardworking. And, their
Yeah.
excellency that they carry inspired me to be who I am, as a musician and as a clinician. But I think this whole Berkeley journey really just really trained me as a music therapist, especially just exposing me to different genres in music. Berkeley
Right.
is really famous for their contemporary music, and as a student, we were trained in different styles and genres of music, and I think that really strengthens me as a musician, and as a music therapist, where because the different clients that I work with, they don't always like the same genre. They don't always like the same,
Right.
preferred music. So I think that was really, really
Mm.
important. But of course, the clinical aspects of it, we were able to, get to do different internships, placements at different settings. We get to do it in the hospital, get to do
Wow.
it in schools, get to do it in nursing homes. So we were really um, just all rounded, that by this whole incredible curriculum and the trainings. Yeah.
It sounds amazing. Now, so far, I feel like we've been talking about younger children, especially with that great example with the ukulele and the wheels on the bus. How is it with like preteens and teens? Do you work with them
Yes.
as well?
I do. Although I would say mostly I am currently working with younger children, but I do work with
Yes.
teenagers and also young adults. And that would look very different in music therapy because
Yeah.
we wouldn't play music like, the wheels on the bus, because that would not be age
Right.
appropriate. For
Right.
them, I would always do interventions like songwriting. And a lot of times, whenever I bring up the word songwriting, people would get intimidated and think like, "Oh, I'm not a songwriter. I'm not a musician. I can't do
Yeah.
it." But in a music therapy setting, when we say songwriting, it is actually not very intimidating, and we're not actually looking for perfection. We're not expecting you to write a Grammy Award winning song, but we're actually just really using this technique or intervention to help you to express your feelings, help you to express your thoughts that you probably could not express it with just spoken words. So
Right.
a lot of times, if depending on the comfort level of the individual, right? Of course, they are free to just write whatever they are able to write, and then we could create it into a song. Which I have actually had a few clients that, they are highly creative, and they would, in their own free time, they would have, written poems, songs, and we
Oh,
would turn them
wow.
into a song. And oftentimes
Oh,
they would
that's
have like
cool.
written different poems or just little paragraphs of their reflections, and we could turn them into a song, a theme song of their season, something like that. But
Right.
with
Oh, I
certain
love that.
other clients, we could do some lyric substitution. So we would use like a
Mhm.
familiar song, and then we would take out a certain words, and ask them to
Okay.
to fill in what are some of the words that they are actually wanting to express. What to substitute.
Mm.
So that that actually does not look as intimidating, or is not as hard as supposed to, like, oh, I need to write a whole song by myself. Yeah.
Right.
So this is something
Yes.
beautiful that
Yeah.
we could actually work together with.
Well, tell me if I'm on the right track, but it sounds like to me with the younger children, it's working on the emotional regulation, the maybe the verbal skills, the motor skills, the transitions. With the older kids and teens, it sounds like maybe more of what they're going through and they're able to express it through using the music.
Um, so for younger children, we are also able to do that, but because if
Oh,
we're
good.
looking at, some children might be minimally speaking, so that might be a little
Right.
hard for them to work on expressing themselves verbally. So for in that
Right.
case, we would actually substitute this activity with different instruments. So we are instead of
Okay.
asking maybe questions like "How are you feeling today?" we might use a drum and ask like,
Oh,
so how are you feeling today? And you could say that I feel, or I feel. So different
yes.
expressions on, just expressing how they're feeling. And of course, we are also able to use different cards to help them to support, to express how they're feeling as well. And here I have
Mm.
different emotion
Oh,
cards.
oh, I love
Yes.
that. God, I love
Yeah.
that movie. I didn't see the second one. I need to. My daughter was telling me about it a few years
Ah,
ago. I only saw the first one. Yeah.
yeah.
What was that
Inside
movie
Out?
again?
Yes.
Inside Out. Yes. I heard the
Yes.
second one was good. She was a preteen or a young teen and kind of dealing with
Yes.
different
Yes.
issues. Okay. Yes. Yeah, I love that. Now tell us a little bit about Lifetunes music therapy.
Yes, Lifetunes music therapy is something that I founded ever since I moved back from the States, and it's a organization where we provide one-on-one music therapy services, as well as group settings. We also do like a lot of advocacy trainings. We could do corporate trainings, workshops on music therapy, mental health, and also autism related trainings as well. So we have been running about 5 years as of now. And yes,
Nice.
so we are very grateful that, along these years, we are in Malaysia, that we are able to support different families. From different
Mhm.
places, and to be able to you know to share what we know and to be able to help different families with our services.
That's fantastic. How did you like living in LA? I grew up in California, but I grew up in the Bay
Nice.
Area. It's starting to get cold here in Massachusetts, and I am missing California
Oh.
dearly.
I love it. I was there for about 3 years. Yeah, I was there about
Yeah.
for about 3 years. I did my internship at Children's Hospital Los Angeles.
Oh,
um,
wow.
that's when I actually got to work and expose myself to like pediatric palliative care. And then my first job as a music therapist was actually also working with pediatric palliative care patients. Yeah, so that was a
That must have
really
been so
great time.
intense. Yeah, that must have been really difficult, especially if people know what palliative care is. Can you tell us for people who might not be
Yeah.
familiar?
So for palliative care, typically we actually work with patients who are with life-threatening illnesses. So we are able to
Mhm.
use music as a tool to help them with to manage their pain, to help them to transition,
Right.
especially with end of life patients, especially with
Right.
their family members as well. So music in
Right.
this population look a lot different than the neurodivergent population because we're working with very different goals. So in this population, we are giving a lot of validation. We do a lot of legacy. Part of it, we actually do something called the heartbeat program, where we actually record the
Mm.
heartbeat of the patient, and then we record a song
Oh.
over that heartbeat. as
Oh,
legacy
wow.
project for the family. So it's really, really precious. It's the whole process of just singing and recording the heartbeat and the song is just very therapeutic and acts as a transitional um, support for the family as well.
Wow. Now, Ivy, was there anything that we didn't touch on today that you were hoping to talk about?
I don't think so, Lisa, because I think you touch on pretty much a lot of things. Yeah.
Oh, good. Well, I think it's absolutely fantastic. And I mean, music for me is everything. And it's, it's funny, with my daughter, I used to sing to her before bed. I would sing to her sometimes up to over an hour, 2 hours, because it took her a long time to, quiet her mind. And luckily, I'm a 1970s jukebox, so almost any song from the 70s, I'll be singing. So she knows a lot of 70s music. She doesn't necessarily like it all, but she knows a lot of 70s music. So, Ivy, tell us all the ways that we can find
Yeah,
you.
you can find Lifetunes on social media at Lifetunes Music Therapy on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. We're all there, even on YouTube as well. We have pretty much a lot of content videos
Oh,
over
great.
there as well. Yeah,
Oh, well, I'm so glad you came on. I hope your throat
thank
feels better.
you.
You did sound absolutely beautiful. And everyone keep coming back to the Autism Truth podcast. Again, brought to you by AutiParent. Make sure to check them out and tell your friends and family. Thanks so much. Take care.